Mary Ann Burrows, ACSALB, hard-earned credentials. Mary Ann will be presenting her speech from the Communicator Manual, project number 4, How to Say It the Second Time. The purpose of the speech is to use words or arrangements of words that effectively communicate her message to the audience. The speaker should select clear, accurate, descriptive, and short words and choose verbs that convey action. It should also use rhetorical devices to enhance and emphasize ideas. The speech should be 5 to 7 minutes in length. The title of the speech is A Light in the Darkness. Mary Ann Burrows.
And welcome guests. Have you ever had a time in your life where your life just felt like it fell down around you? Somebody pulled off the carpet from underneath you. You thought your life was going that way, and suddenly you ended up going in a completely different way? Well, a man named Bob May had a time like that in his life. He'd only been married for 4 short years when he found out that his wife had cancer and she died from that disease. He was downtrodden, depressed, dejected, as he sat in his cold living room, staring blankly out the window. What would his future be like? He started to review his life, and he started when he was a little. He was small for his age, and all the kids used to pick on him and laugh at him. He wasn't good in sports, so he never felt like he really fit in. What was wrong with his life? He did eventually graduate and went to college, and did get a job at Montgomery Ward. It wasn't a very high-paying job, but he did have a job. He doesn't know how it happened, but a lovely lady married him, and he had a beautiful daughter. But that quickly ended. He was startled from his stupor when his little girl climbed in his lap, and she looked up in his face, and she said, "Daddy, why did this have to be this way?" He looked down at his little girl and wrapped his big daddy arms around her and gave her a hug. He said, "I don't know, but somehow we're going to make it through this." It was only days before Christmas, and he desperately wanted to do something for his daughter to make it a special time, in spite of the circumstances. So he had no money because all the money had gone to hospital expenses and doctor bills. So he started to think, well, one of the things she loved the most was reading bedtime stories before she went to bed. So he thought, maybe I could write a story. So after he tucked her in bed at night, he would sit down and began sketching some pictures and developing a storyline. He would read the story and then he would embellish on it. And then he'd read it again and add new things. And then he read it again and he'd tweak things. And then in the wee hours of Christmas morning, he finished the book. He found some old wrapping paper in a drawer, wrapped the present as well as he could. And that morning, when his little girl came down and opened the present, she shrilled with delight, "Oh, Daddy, thank you, thank you." And she begged him to read it. He read it, and when he got done, she begged him to read it again and again, as little 4-year-olds do quite often. That book, she was so excited about that book, and she told everybody she knew about this wonderful present she got for Christmas. And one of Bob May's co-workers heard about the book and asked if he could read it. He was so impressed with it that he shared it with his boss at Montgomery Ward. He liked the book so well that he offered to pay Bob May a very small fee for the rights of the book, and Bob May agreed. That book was then given to every single child that came to see Santa Claus the next year for Christmas. And then the book went for sale. And in a few short years, 6 million copies of that book were sold. Bob May went on to remarry and have a couple more children. Montgomery Ward decided to award him all the back royalties on that book. But the story doesn't end there. Bob May's brother-in-law decided to put that book to music. He offered it to Dinah Shore and Bing Crosby, and they both turned it down. But then he offered it to Gene Autry, who was a country singer. Gene Autry really didn't like the song very well. But his wife heard it and said, you know, I just have a feeling about this. You ought to try it. So, with his wife's suggestion, he did so. That song is it's coming.
Oh, Rudolph the red-nosed reindeer had a very shiny nose, and if you ever saw it, you would even say it glows.
So all of you know that song and that book. That song is the #2 most played song at Christmas time, I've heard, in the history of the world. So fellow Toastmasters and welcome guests, when you come to those points in time of your life where your life feels like it's just falling apart and the carpet is being pulled out from under you, know that just maybe those darkest, deepest, most depressing times of your life can actually lead to the most light-filled experience. And in the words of another famous Christmas story, Happy Christmas to all, and to all, a good afternoon.